Every company she went never hired her, until the day she found a golden box.
Mr. Toma was sitting in his office chair when his secretary walked in. "Sir," she said, "Mrs. Shinonso hasn't been coming to work. Should I email her?" Mr. Toma looked at her calmly and replied, "There's no need for that. Please continue with your work." The secretary paused, watching him closely. She looked a bit confused but simply said, "Okay," and left the office. Outside, she stood in one corner, deep in thought. What exactly is going on? She wondered. Mr. Toma didn't even want to talk when I mentioned Shinonso. Is there something we don't know? Anyway, that's none of my business. She sighed and returned to her office. Meanwhile, Shinonso was sitting in Toma's apartment, still in her wheelchair. She was smiling because, for the first time in a while, everything felt okay. Suddenly, Mr. Atoma walked in. He saw her smile and felt happy. He handed her a basket of fruit. "Here," he said warmly. Shinonso smiled and replied, "Thank you." She was so happy that she picked up an apple and started eating it. While eating the apple, she noticed something strange. She looked at the wall but saw nothing. Then she heard a voice. Her face grew pale with fear. She looked again, and saw a shadow. She screamed loudly, tears streaming down her face. Toma rushed in immediately. "What happened?" he asked, kneeling beside her. Between sobs, Shinonso stammered. He came. He's here again. He came for me. I'm scared, Toma. I'm scared." Toma held her trembling hand and said gently, "It's okay. I'm here now. You're safe." Suddenly, Shinonso grabbed her neck, gasping for air as if something was choking her. Toma's face turned pale with fear. "Shinonso. What is it? Are you okay? You're scaring me." Shinonso's eyes were wide open, filled with terror. Then, as suddenly as it began, her hands released her neck. She started coughing heavily, trying to catch her breath. She wanted to tell Toma what had just happened, but no sound came out. She tried again and again, but her voice was gone. Toma looked at her in confusion. He lifted her gently and carried her to her bedroom. "Shinonso, what is it?" "You scared the hell out of me," he said, sitting beside her and holding her hand. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. Toma couldn't understand what she was trying to say. That night, Toma decided to take her to a prophet. When they arrived at the church, Toma explained everything to the prophet. The prophet looked at Shinonso. "She has lost her voice," he said. "She can't speak." Shinonso nodded silently, tears in her eyes. The prophet told them to return on Friday for a deliverance session. When they got home, they sat together on the couch. Toma placed his hand on her head and tried to comfort her. Shinonso felt grateful that God had given her someone like Toma, especially now that things were so difficult. Though she couldn't speak, he seemed to understand her heart. He brought her a glass of milk. She drank it happily and tried to say thank you, but no words came out. Instead, she gestured with her hands. Toma smiled. He was slowly learning to understand her new silent language. One afternoon, Shinonso sat alone on the couch. "I'm tired of sitting here," she thought. "Let me go to the parlor." She carefully climbed into her wheelchair and began wheeling herself toward the parlor. But when she got there, she suddenly stopped, her heart pounding fast. Right there on the floor in front of her was a pool of blood. The thick red liquid spread slowly across the tiles, reflecting the dim light in the room. Shinonso's eyes widened in horror. She gasped and tried to will herself away quickly, but in her panic, the wheelchair slipped. She lost her balance and fell hard to the ground. She screamed as she hit the floor, terrified and shaking. At that moment, Toma rushed in. "Shinonso. What happened?" he shouted, running toward her. But when he looked around, there was nothing. No blood, no sign of anything strange. The floor was clean. Shinonso lay trembling, staring at the same spot, unable to speak. Shinonso realized she couldn't explain what she saw with her lost voice. She quickly grabbed a notebook and wrote, "Please take me to the prophet." She showed it to Toma. He read it aloud and nodded. "Don't worry," he said softly. "I'll take you there." The next day, they went back to the church. The prophet and his members began to pray over her. The prophet walked toward Shinonso, placed his hand on her head, and said 3 times, "Receive peace. Receive peace. Receive peace." Then he added, "You are free." When they returned home, her voice was still not restored, and she couldn't walk. Toma carried her inside and sat beside her. She smiled faintly, hopeful. Everything will return to normal, she thought. That night, Shinonso lay peacefully on her bed and soon fell asleep. But as she slept, she felt something watching her. She slowly opened her eyes, and there it was again, the shadow. This time, it was holding a knife, moving slowly toward her. She screamed in terror, jumped from the bed, and ran out of the house into the street, under the dim streetlight, running and running, but the shadow was still chasing after her.